Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtadar Khan, your host, and today I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about the vexing issue of H1-B visas. Donald Trump, the President of the United States, has immediately raised the application fee for H1-B visas to $100,000, and it's going to be implemented from tomorrow. So, first of all, the time span for adjusting to the new H1B visa challenge is enormous. You have less than 48 hours. So imagine all of those people who had gone to India to attend weddings, etc., who are traveling abroad, who are on vacations. All of them will have to be back in the country by tomorrow. And if they are not back in the United States by tomorrow, then if they arrive here on September 22nd, on Monday or Tuesday, then they will have to have a slip, a proof that their company has paid $100,000 for them. Now, this is a massive, massive danger. Many of these people will not be able to enter the country right away. So that's one shocking aspect of this whole thing, is to how little time has been given. There was no such indication at all coming out from the Trump administration. In that sense, I think I'm quite impressed with the security that they have maintained around this new policy by not releasing it at all or giving any indication at all as to what was coming down the pipeline. I mean, there was a lot of discussion about H1B needs to be stopped, etc., etc. So what I intend to do today is go through some of the issues that are at stake. What does it mean? Who is going to be affected? Who will not be affected? How does it impact India, particularly since 71% of H1B holders are Indians? So it impacts India the most. It not only impacts Indians who are working in the US, but it also impacts Indian IT industry. And it could also impact the engineering education system in India if this really kills the H1B system. And of course, there's going to be a huge impact on the United States itself, on the US IT industry, in its growth, on its innovation, on its capacity to compete with other countries, especially China. So we will see what happens here, and will it also achieve the goal that President Trump really is trying to achieve, which is bring back more IT jobs, high-paying jobs to Americans. So it is an interesting, shall we say, balancing act. At one end, Donald Trump is trying to bring in the low-end manufacturing jobs to America by using tariffs against other countries and increasing the cost of buying foreign goods. Which is forcing companies to either invest in the United States or buy American, regardless of their quality and cost. So this is one way of trying to bring manufacturing jobs. The other is this H1B visa, where he's trying to ensure that more local talent is hired and trained. So the point of this H1B visa policy, number one, is this. It wants to force the companies or make it very expensive for companies to hire cheap labor from outside. And they're saying, hire Americans and train them to do what you want them to do, or pay a very high price to bring in already trained foreigners into the country. And because H1B is also a pathway to green card, and from green card you become American citizens, it's also changing the demographic composition. Suddenly in the last 20 years, we saw that Indians are now one of the biggest nationalities in the United States at 5.5 million. There are more Indians in America than there are people in many, many states. Some of the big states like Maryland and others, their populations are around 5.5 million people. So if you put all Indians in one US state, it'll be one of the bigger states. It'll be 5 times bigger than the state of Delaware, whose population is only 1 million. So there are at least I can think of at least 25 states which will be smaller in their population than the number of Indians who live in the United States. So there is also that this idea of preserving the whiteness of America. That's a broad thing in the back, but the primary reason is Donald Trump's vision of making America essentially Atmanirbhar, or completely independent of its reliance and dependence on foreign labor, on foreign goods, etc. Will it work? Now that's the interesting question. It's like the tariffs question. Will the tariffs achieve the goals that Donald Trump hopes they will, or will they completely undermine American economy and stunt its growth and bring inflation and make life miserable for their citizens? And now with H1B visa, that is the same question. Is it going to help increase the skill sets of Americans, make America a more innovative, more talented country, or will it undermine the global competitiveness of American firms? And remember, I have said this many times that in the last if you go back about 15 years, the US economy and the European economy were really on par. They were just about the same, around $12 trillion, both of them. And now, 10, 15 years later, the United States is $31 trillion and the Europeans are just $20 trillion. So we have grown much faster than Europe. We are now 1.5 times bigger than Europe. And Europe has a 1.5 times bigger population than the United States. So the US has done phenomenally well in comparison to other economies. In fact, we have added just as much to our GDP as China has in the past few years. Not in terms of growth rate, but I'm talking about in just terms of trillions of dollars. So the US has done very well. Will it continue to do well if the US, especially IT industries, competitiveness is impacted? And you must understand that the IT industry is very central to all other aspects of the economy. If your IT industry is not doing well, it impacts your financial fintech, your financial technology, your financial activities. It impacts all your other businesses. Even manufacturing is impacted because so much of it is now done by AI and robotics. So let's go and do a little bit of facts. So keep in mind that 71% of all 71% of all H1B users or people who get them are from India. So whatever are the positive and negative, or whatever positive impacts of H1B are, the US will essentially benefit from all of them. And whatever negative impacts are there as a result of this policy, India will suffer 70% of that. So the first thing I want to show you are who are the biggest users of the H1B visa. So if you look at it, these are the top companies. So the Amazon is the biggest one. It has about 11,000 H1B workers. Infosys is next, which is India's major company. It is 8,000. So Infosys is an Indian company, and it brings in 8,000 H1B visas. And this is where a lot of allegations are made of corrupt practices, shady practices. And basically what Infosys and other companies, even the Amazon and Microsoft, are being accused is using H1B or abusing H1B to bring in people with on a lesser salary. So apparently the median salary for people who come in for the first time is 97,000, which means half the people who come to America on H1B visas make less than $97,000. Half of them make more than that. And those who then get an extension after 3 years are the ones, then the median salary is around $120,000. So the argument is that perhaps if you were hiring Americans, then you would have to pay more than 120,000 or more than 97,000. And so these companies are going and bringing in cheap labor. And they are not what Donald Trump likes to say. They're not geniuses. They are not transforming American IT industry. There are very, very few Indians who have come here and revolutionized the IT industry. Most of the big new firms that you see have been started by Americans, whether it is in the last 20 years, whether it is Facebook or whether it is Twitter, whether it is Tesla, so there are a few like Sun Microsystems by Vinod Khosla and others, but they are not like geniuses who are coming on H1B visas. These are basically drones workers, hard workers with high skills, and so who are being paid less than what they would have been paid if they were Americans. So, so the tech companies have actually made a lot of profit, and that is the one of the allegations that the Trump administration is making. And so these are the companies that, so the Indian companies which are benefiting, Infosys at number 2, Tata Consulting Services at number 4. Apparently 50% of all Tata TCS revenues come from the United States. And then you have another Indian tech company, HCL, at number 9. So the Indian companies alone are getting a major share of the H1B visas and so on and so forth. So this is one aspect of it. The second aspect is that there are about 600,000 people in the United States at the moment who already have an H1B visa. Okay. And now, of those 600,000 people who have H1B visas, many of them will not have to pay this $100,000 fee. It is only those who will go in for, even those who already have an H1B visas, I think their renewal will also not. There isn't clarity on this issue. So let's say that you are here, you have an H1B visa, you've been here for 2 years, and then you go in a year later from now and reapply for essentially renewal of your visa. It is not clear whether that will entail your company putting up $100,000 extra to renew your visa. But if anybody who's hired recently and is not in the United States, so let's say that you got your H1B visa, you finished your master's degree at some university, you got an H1B visa, and you are in the US at the moment, and you have started working, your company does not have to pay the $100,000 until the question is, will it have to pay when the time for renewal comes? And that is not very clear. But if the same person, you just finished your master's, you got a job, you worked for 2 months, you got some money, and you went to India to get married or attend a wedding, or I don't know what, you're on vacation right now in India, you're not able to come back without paying $100,000. That is the worst side of this particular bill, which is temporary. It's going to impact people right now. So it's quite possible this is Donald Trump's way of reducing the usage of the H1B visas that have already been issued this year. So a lot of people got visas this year, about 65 to 85,000 visas. So there are about 65,000 which come from lottery, 20,000 for people who have US master's degree every year. So there are about 85,000 H1B visas, that permits that have been issued this year. We don't know whether all of them have been hired. But so how do you reduce this? Well, one way of reducing this is those who are abroad, who have gone there for stamping their passports or changing the status on their from, say, student visa to H1 visa, and if they've gone home, then they could get potentially into trouble, because they will not be able to come back until their company basically pays $100,000. So this is a temporary, the short-term duration is essentially to reduce that. So basically Trump is going to say, well, I gave 65,000 permissions, or we gave 85,000 permissions, whatever, this year, but you know what, only 30,000 or 40,000 were used, and many were not able to come back. This is because of the brilliance of this particular policy. But there are loopholes, and that is what I wanted to identify. There are several loopholes in this policy, which I think are going to be exploited extensively by companies like Google and others, and then there will also be lawyers playing their tricks, etc. Except that means that there will be a lot more cost involved. Lawyers are very expensive. It seems right now it costs about $11,000 for a company, even though the fees is just $1,000, some $200 odd for the lottery, and about $800 for application fee, etc. So technically, applying for an H1 visa costs only $1,000. However, the companies who apply, apparently it costs them about $11,000. They're probably also including legal fees in the cost. So about $11,000 for a new H1 visa is what it costs a company, and about $6,000 if you were to renew the visa, the H1B status. And now is going to be that $100,000 is going to be over and above that. So it's going to cost companies about $111,000 to bring in a fresh H1B visa user. And if they want to renew, it's going to cost them $106,000. So that renewal side is where there is no clarity, and this will become clearer as the U.S. Customs and the State Department, all of this, who are going to be who will be processing these visas, etc., will make it clearer, and they will articulate the policy. So we have to fully figure out that if this applies for, if the $100,000 is also required for renewal of H1B visas, then there's going to be a huge impact. So people who are here for 3 years, who have been here for 1 year, who have been here for 2 years, they will have to pay a huge amount for their visas. And it's going to be a burden on companies, especially middle and small companies. So if you're a small company with $20 million of sales and you are working with, say, 40 H1B visa people, so suddenly you're going to be giving $4 million in this phase, and does it work? How does it work for you? So a lot of small companies are going to basically fold, I guess, and we will see what happens. Does this help the United States in any way? In the short run, I don't think it does. For example, right now there are lots of people who have companies which have lots of projects that they're working on, and they have to deliver those projects to the clients. So the immediate consequence of this is going to be offshoring, which means, let's say you're working on a project and you needed 10 H1B people to come in, and they're supposed to come in here at the end of September, and you start working on the project in August, and they cannot come, or you can't afford to bring them because you have to pay suddenly $100,000 per person. So what are you going to do? You're going to simply outshore this. You'll send the project there and you say, okay, fine, you can't come to the US, but you know what, we'll rent a nice little office and a nice little retreat, a nice little camp and ashram near Pune, and all of you can go to Pune and you sit there. We will give you a 10% hike in your salary or whatever. Sit there and work there. Or they can simply fire these people and hire new people at a much lower salary, which is very lucrative in India, and put them there in these basically companies in India, and they will do the project there. So instead of delivering it from here, so in a sense, Donald Trump's H1B visa policy might encourage companies to do more offshoring than not. There are several strategies that companies have adopted after the COVID, one, and number two, as a result of the geopolitics with China. So with this China plus one, de-risking with China, companies have started doing what is called as nearshoring, which means they bring in and create jobs in Mexico. So it's quite possible that instead of bringing all these Indians to the United States, they might bring them to come to Mexico, and then they will work out of Mexico. Or they will bring them to some Eastern European country like Poland or Moldova or North Macedonia, or not so expensive European country, and then make them work out of there. We'll see what happens, because the company will have to continue to produce in the short run while this policy becomes clearer. So it's $100,000 per person per year. Keep that in mind. This is for every year. It's not something that is one shot. And that is the biggest, I think, deterrent. So if you hire somebody for 6 years, are you going to be paying $600,000 to the US government for keeping that person? So this is the challenge that IT companies in the United States are going to face. Now, there is one aspect of this whole business which is not being discussed by a lot of people, because, as you know, in India, TCS fired about 20,000 people just recently. And I noticed that Anupam Jain is here. Welcome, Anupam. And Anupam had actually drawn my attention to this and had requested that I do a show on the impact of artificial intelligence on India's IT industry. And so I invited my friend Ashar Farhan. He's like the Elon Musk of Hyderabad, to come and talk about it. And we did a wonderful show that you can probably go and watch as to the impact of AI. So at that time, not only were 20 or 12 to 20,000 people fired by TCS, but what also happened was that at the same time, Microsoft fired 9,000 people. A lot of people have been laid off in the US already, and the primary reason for that is artificial intelligence. So, a lot of routine work, and by routine work, I don't mean answering the phone call, I mean coding. A lot of software, most of these jobs are coding jobs. They're not like geniuses coming here. They're just people who learned how to code, and they're coming here and writing thousands and thousands of lines of code all the time. So this coding tasks, which are routine, are now easily done faster, more efficiently, with less errors by AI. Try using Microsoft Copilot. It does a lot of things, and ChatGPT and others are also doing a pretty good job of coding. So as a result of that, a lot of routine type IT jobs were already being cut. So in the last 2 3 years, apparently the demand for H1B visas itself was going down and not up. So there was a steady decline in the number of applications and number of H1B visas, and the number of people coming on H1B visas to the US from India and other places was already on the decline. And another pathway to the H1B is through the engineering college. Or people who are coming here and doing their masters. So engineers who come to the US, do their MS in various tech fields, computer science, robotics, or other things. And then there's a 20,000 visa, H1B visa category for those people who have a master's from the US. And so they would go through that channel. Even that channel now has two bottlenecks. One is this $100,000 fee, but the other bottleneck is the visa restrictions and the complications of that. So if you notice that nearly 70% people who applied for visas to come for higher education to the US, many of them did not even get their interviews at the US consulates in India. So I think this fall, international students coming from India is going to reduce significantly. We'll have to wait for another month or two before that data is available. We just started. We are still in September. And like this is my third week of teaching this fall. I don't think the full data is available for the whole country, but we will know to what level. So what is happening is that already before this $100,000 fee came in, there was a decline in the pipelines for H1B through colleges, and there will be a decline because of artificial intelligence. So AI is basically eating up a lot of tech jobs itself. And there's an interesting debate as to some people feel that the only jobs that will be left will be people who are capable of developing AI agents or AI programming or whatever you do. But in fact, Bill Gates thinks that even the coders will disappear. So even people who develop software will become redundant, as will doctors, etc. Most jobs will be done by AI. So this whole disruption of the US economy in order to bring in manufacturing and high-tech jobs in the United States could be just for 4 or 5 years, and we may have to rethink the whole business of US economy and global economy for that matter, if AI is going to have the kind of impact that AI has, and so we will see how it goes. There are a couple of things that I do want to say, which is on the loopholes. One loophole is a national security loophole. So there might be companies which are doing national security works, like, for example, network security for the Pentagon and for the Department of Defense and the Department of State, etc. And they say we really need people who are well-versed in cybersecurity. Without them, we will be exposed to be hacking. Apparently, the British airports have just been hacked today or are under attack. And can you imagine the millions of dollars worth of losses that people are going to inculcate today who are trying to fly out of Heathrow? So the flights are cancelled, and people are canceled. Sometimes you're going for a business transaction, and even individuals will start losing money. So yes, this cyber terror can be a source of major disruption. So if you weaken your cyber guard, so to speak, by reducing the number of experts and technical expertise that you have, you are opening yourself to vulnerabilities which can then be exploited by people who indulge in cyber bullying, blackmail, or even by other countries. In China, with all the brilliant guys now not getting H1-B, turning them into hackers and attacking America. So America will have a national security loophole, which is there actually, where a lot of companies will then hire people, bring them on H1-B visas to the US, and not pay the $100,000 additional fee, saying that these are important for national security. And there again, I guarantee you, the Indian companies are going to basically exploit them. They have done a lot of bad things. There's no doubt about it. Even bringing people on management visa, which is an L visa or something, and then making them work as techies. There have been several scandals as to how some programmers are brought into Texas, many of them living in one house, not getting paid very well. So all of this rubbish is going to happen, but it will happen in a small level, at a small scale, under the rubric of national security. There is also a possibility, according to this new executive order of President Donald Trump, that some sectors, an entire section of the IT industry, could be exempt from this visa. So, for example, tomorrow all these tech CEOs are going to go and scream at Donald Trump and say, "What have you done? You're going to make us less competitive. The Chinese are going to run the whole world," and so on and so forth. And if India retains its talent, this talk that all these people who come to H1B in America, they made America. Now, if they stay back in India, they will make India into a great thing. All that is bullshit. You don't have the environment that American ecosystem which makes you thrive. Okay, so keep that in mind. If all of this, if Satya Nadella was staying in India, he would have been applying for H1B every year and not creating a massive company and becoming CEO of a Microsoft sort of company. That's not going to happen. That's pipe dream. That is rubbish. But they're going to say that, look, all these brilliant people who are not getting H1B are now going to stay in India, and they are going to create this massively competitive stuff, especially in AI. AI is a difficult skill. People are still trying to understand what artificial intelligence is, how to work it, how to write programming. Even though all this machine learning stuff was already going on, it has just gained more attention than before. So what is going to happen is that he might say, okay, we will give an exemption to artificial intelligence. So people with artificial intelligence expertise can come into America on H1B visas and take jobs, and they don't have to pay the $100,000 additional fees. And there again, the companies will start exploiting that loophole, and that will be shut down. So that's the problem, that IT companies and other companies in pursuit of profit always seem to bend the rules. If there was self-policing by these companies, then there would not have been this much hue and cry from the MAGA crowd and others as there is right now. So there was an abuse by the IT industries, and now there is an overreaction by the government to that particular abuse. And that is the challenge that we go forward. I did look at something interesting has happened in the last few days. If you remember, President Donald Trump went to the United Kingdom, and American companies have promised to invest $150 billion in England in the IT sector, or basically investing in IT sector. And IT and UK has signed a free trade agreement with India, a bilateral trade agreement with India, which allows a lot of Indians to go and work for IT companies in England. And there's a lot of attacks on that by Nigel Farage, and I did a show on that, so you can go back and take a look at it, on the bilateral trade agreement between India and UK. But what it does do is it allows Google to basically say, okay, I need 2,000 people. If I bring those 2,000 people here, I'll have to pay 100,000 per person. So I'm not going to pay these billions of dollars in fee. I'm going to bring them to UK. And so because India has a bilateral trade agreement with UK, I will bring them to UK for 5 years, 6 years, and I will hire them there. I don't have to pay them American salaries. I'll pay them British salaries, which are much lower. Not only that, but uh, I can do my projects here because the Donald Trump wants us to have good close relations, IT relations. So in some ways, this could be a bonanza for the IT industries of Europe, where they will become get basically become the venue for offshoring by American companies, because that is going to be the biggest thing. But I can also tell you this much, that look, I'm talking about offshoring right now, that one thing that all companies are going to do is resort to offshoring. A lot of people are suggesting that that is going to happen, which means that the Donald Trump's administration is going to also learn about it, or they already have anticipated it, that okay, this is going to lead to offshoring. So it is quite possible that the next big blow, you know, I find it so amusing. One of the biggest problems that Indians have is this obsession with trying to make Modi look great. So let me give you an example, and I'll tell you how you are suffering as a result of that. Look at this. I just Googled Narendra Modi and Donald Trump discuss US India ties. That is all I had Googled. And this is the coverage by all the Indian newspapers: Economic Times, Mint, MSN, Times of India, Vion, etc. And look at them all trying to praise Modi or Jaishankar. Trump makes U-turn on India, calls Prime Minister Modi a great friend. Jaishankar breaks silence on Modi's Trump ties. Porter's U-turn on America. What U-turn? What U-turn did Trump do? He just made a phone call. That's all. And this stupid media, because there are millions of, hundreds of millions of stupid fools watching those media and giving them ratings, they said this kind of stupid shit. What they should be asking is, what is Trump going to do next? He's not impressed with Modi. For God's sake, don't live in that stupid world, okay? He just made a phone call thinking Modi is stupid and Indians are stupid, and they will think that we are doing something great. That's why Trump made that call, not because something magical happened and Modi's magic happened and Trump was like suddenly realized, oh my God, we are pressuring. In the last 48 hours, Trump has hit India 3 times. He's hit them with H1-B visa. 71% of the impact is going to be on India's IT industry. It's going to reduce your profitability. It might also reduce the size of the companies because they may lose some contracts. There are lots of others who might start companies in India to compete with Infosys, etc. Yes, it will be difficult, it will be expensive, but it could happen. Both India as well as US are going to suffer, but they will both suffer. The third thing that he did was he imposed sanctions on Chabahar, cutting off India's access to Central Asia. And then the Europeans also are imposing sanctions on 3 Indian oil companies. All of this has happened in the last 48 hours, and Indians are still thinking, oh, wow, he called Modi and said, you're a great friend, and he made a phone call on his birthday. Don't be so stupid, okay? And this is usually from people, this is going to hurt. And the most, unfortunately, the city that is going to be hit the hardest in India is my hometown, Hyderabad. The largest number of H1-B people come are from the south, from Telangana, Andhra Pradesh. These are the 2 states which are going to be hurt the most, and they need to be prepared because this administration is mean, it is a bit reckless, it is vindictive, it's angry, and so it could do things which will hurt the US definitely, but will also hurt others. So I think the next step that Donald Trump's administration is going to do is try to block American companies from sending jobs overseas. Remember, he actually said this about 2 months ago when he says that people who are building factories in China and sending jobs to India, he said this very clearly. He said those companies which are building factories in China and are sending jobs to India, he's going to fix them. I don't remember exactly what word he said, but apparently it's already there in his mind, and people like Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick, all of these guys are. The biggest difference between Donald Trump's first term and second term is that he has selected people who fully agree with him and come up with ideas on how to push his agenda. So if you remember, there was this India US Trade Strategic Partnership Summit where Howard Lutnick spoke more than 3 months ago, 3 to 4 months ago. And in that, he said one of the irritating things about India is it's buying Russian oil and investing in Russian defense systems or buying Russian military equipment. He said that very clearly, Howard Lutnick. I actually did a whole show on that particular speech of Howard Lutnick. Go back and take a look at it. And within 3 months, you saw the 50%, 25% tariffs on India buying Russian oil came through. So these guys are saying aloud. So listen carefully to what they are saying and not this bullshit media that you have. Uh, Especially if you're a businessman, if you are planning to apply for H1-B visas, if you're planning to come to the US, if you're already here, imagine you're coming to the US and you have already bought a house. I don't know whether you can now on H1B visas. I was still on H1B when I bought my house, the first house. That was 20 years ago, or more than 20 years ago. In fact, it was 24 years ago. But I don't know whether you have to be a green card holder at the moment or not. But if you have invested in American life, your children are growing up here, they've been here for several years, and then suddenly you have to pack and go. And then your lifestyle will be curbed. You're not going to get the same kind of a job in India. People can talk a lot. If you could get that kind of a job in India, you would not be here to begin with. So it's going to be very disruptive, and people have to plan for that. And there's a pretty good chance that Donald Trump is going to meet with Modi in Malaysia on the ASEAN summit, and Modi will just go and hug him and do this whatever shit he does. And then people in India will say, oh, America has turned and all these things. No, nothing is going to happen. If you want to know whether America's policies have changed, look at the policies, not what hugging Modi is doing with these guys. Nothing happens because of that. Okay. Did he reduce the tariffs, the reciprocal tariffs from 25? India has the highest reciprocal tariffs in South Asia. Pakistan has 19, Bangladesh 20, Sri Lanka 20, Vietnam 20, Indonesia 19. All of these are lower than India, which means that all of these Asian countries with whom India is competing and exporting to the US, India is at a disadvantage. And on top of that, India has a 25% Russian oil tariffs. Are they down? Now, the Iran-related Chabahar restrictions and sanctions that have been already imposed on India. Then you have this H1B visa additional challenge, and then the restrictions on students coming to study here. All of these are the blows that Donald Trump has struck against India. If they are removed, only then you can say that Donald Trump is on a U-turn, that he's changing his policies towards India, not because he says one thing about Modi or whatever rubbish. Idiots seem to take it very seriously in India. I've been telling you this from the very beginning, that this is a very different Donald Trump. You can make fun of him as much as you like, but he's just taken the hammer and is banging away at globalization. He's trying to destroy globalization. He's wrong. America has benefited the most from all of these policies. I did a whole show on this to show you, for example, since COVID in 2020, America's GDP in 2020 was $22 trillion in 2021. America's GDP today is $31 trillion. In the last 5 years, America has gone from 22 to $30 trillion, $8 to $9 trillion growth, which is double that of India. India's total economy is just $4.2 trillion. America has added to its GDP in the last 5 years alone. Don't be carried away like idiots. Say, oh, India is growing at 6.5, America just growing by 2.5. No big deal. If your salary is 1 lakh rupees and if you grow at 10%, your salary increases by 10,000 rupees. Okay. If my salary is $100,000 and I grow by 2%, my salary is growing by 170,000 rupees. Do you understand the difference between 10,000 rupees and 170,000 rupees? So that's the whole point, that America has benefited from all of this globalization, manufacturing in China, building in China, sending jobs overseas, bringing hundreds of thousands. So there are about 600,000 H1B visa holders today in the United States. Of which 70%, roughly about 400,000, are Indians. Okay, they're providing talent. They're not geniuses, but they are providing talent which America cannot provide at the moment, or we will have to invest in training Americans to do that. And they may not be interested in doing STEM. They are more interested in social sciences or going to law school, writing poetry, writing comedy. They want to have fun. These IT jobs are very boring and stupid jobs. Okay, I was an engineer, and there's no way I would take these jobs. Okay, it's only because of money that people do these jobs. If you can make the same money doing something else which is much more interesting and fun loving, then you would. So there is this advantage to the US in many ways that other countries like China and India have provided. Not only that, we get a lot of talent from Eastern Europe, we get a lot of talent from Africa, from South America. It's full of it. In professors, IT engineers, doctors, we have basically sucked the brains of the rest of the world, the best and the brightest, at least in principle. We may get them or not, but they do add to the skill pool of the United States. So we have benefited from all of these policies, and now Donald Trump wants to bang, 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 and destroy that. But the benefit has been both ways. Keep that in mind. It's not just one way. No, India is not the only. US is not the only one that has benefited. Both India and China have lifted millions and millions of people out of poverty because of globalization. China lifted 800 million people out of poverty since 1991 till now. And India has lifted over 420, 425 million people out of absolute poverty since 1991. So between India and China alone, 1.2 billion people have come out of poverty because of globalization. So yes, lots of people have benefited. Ireland became one of the richest countries in Europe because of offshoring of IT industries. Okay, there is a lot of benefit going around. Yes, some countries have not benefited, but most countries have. Bangladesh has benefited as a result of globalization. Pakistan has not. You can see that in South Asia. Bhutan has not, but Maldives has. Maldives per capita income is around $20,000. It is way more than the target of Viksit Bharat, which is 2047, the per capita income. You can say whatever you like, it's a small country, poor country, but people live there at $20,000 a year in that same region. So some countries have benefited. Maldives have benefited because of tourism, because of globalization. So what Donald Trump is doing is really devastating. Take him seriously. Don't get distracted by stupid shit. Literally, I'm very irritated by this. People are coming here and saying, "Oh, you hate India." No, I'm telling you the facts. The people who are giving you stupid shit to listen to, they are the ones who really hate you. And this is going to get worse and worse and worse going forward. Plus, that phone call that Trump made to Modi's birthday party, it is for Bihar elections. It is to make idiots in India think that Modi is great. Ask yourself, what concession did India make to the US to get that phone call? You think everyone says Donald Trump is transactional. So what was the transaction? Did India say we will reduce tariffs on something if you make a phone call and make Modi happy on his birthday? I don't know. You should ask this. Why aren't the reporters asking this to India? Look at Kash Patel. What a bad time he had in the US Senate and the US Congress because he was under oath. So people kept asking him, is Donald Trump on the Jeffrey Epstein list? And he could not answer the question. He did not, because he could not lie because he was under oath. If he had lied, then he knows that he could be prosecuted for perjury in the future. So he didn't want to lie. You need to put Indian officials, people like Jay Shankar and others, under oath and ask them this question. Did you make any concessions to get Donald Trump to call Narendra Modi and say happy birthday? Because this is a political campaign thing. Are you compromising American national interests, US Indian national interests for political victories for a particular party or a particular individual? Apparently, all the IT YouTubers in India, Go and look at this guy called Anjum. He came up with it. They have received a letter from the Prime Minister's office, from the Indian government, saying all the videos about Adani need to be deleted. Why? So this is the kind of shit that is going on there, and it's going to have a terrible impact. You have to focus on what the policies are and keep in your mind very clearly. India has become, China has become a manufacturer of things. India has become a manufacturer of people. India's biggest export product is people. People who, because they have no other choice, go. I did engineering. You think I did engineering because I was interested in engineering? No. I did engineering because I tell my students that when I was growing up in India, you could be only three things: doctor, engineer, or a loser. I was not a loser. I have a very high IQ. I was very smart, but I really didn't care. I used to study like 5 hours, 4 hours, and pass the engineering college exams. I often never attended labs because I was not interested in becoming an engineer. Even before I finished my engineering, I had already started my MBA. But I took that path. So Indians, out of desperation, have worked and gone into IT industry not because they want to be programmers. Who dreams of becoming a programmer? I want to sit there and write code for the rest of my life. No, because they think, okay, if I can't be a doctor, let me be a coder so that I can get a good job. In fact, I can run away from India. I can go to Italy, I can go to Western countries, I can go to America, get an H1-B, go to Australia. I can go away from India if I work a little bit hard and learn coding. That's why we do it. So India is producing these people who work hard, who are skillful, who have learned skills which are very difficult or maybe very boring for others to learn. And that is what we are exporting to the rest of the world. Everywhere, this whole world of mobility is going on. India's negotiations with free trade agreement with Great Britain is about sending Indians abroad so that they can get jobs and they can send remittances back to India. If you can't export people, they will be at home and you will be struggling to create jobs. As it is, unemployment is very high in India, especially among those who are educated. Youth unemployment is over 20%. People who are uneducated, their unemployment is low, but people who have college degrees, their unemployment is higher. This is the reality. So you have to be really prepared with what Donald Trump is doing to the global economy, because this is going to have a repercussion all over. It's not just going to impact India. The Chinese are more or less not going to be impacted. Only 12% Chinese rely on H1-B visa. Only 12%. 71% are from the US, from India. So between India and China, it's 80, and the rest of the world gets 16% of that. So most countries, the impact is going to be minimal. Okay, but for India, it's going to be devastating for the Indian IT industry. Who is going to pay a huge donation and huge fee and go to engineering college and become a computer science person now if they know that H1B visa is not out there? And it is very difficult to get student visa. So anyway, I'm getting really very angry. So before I get further angry, let me end my commentary. We will see there's a bit of unclarity. Plus, it is quite possible that the lobbyists, the pressure from the tech companies, and maybe if some bad news comes a quarter later saying, oh my God, this bad policy of Donald Trump is really impacting the US economy, Trump might change his policy and then we might go back to something different. We will see what happens, because Trump has changed. On the case of China, went up to 145% tariffs and then came down to 30% tariffs and so on and so forth. So yes, he's just as capable of reversing his policies, but so far in India's case, he has not reversed. And one last thing about that I want to say was, even in UK, day before yesterday, Donald Trump claimed that he had brought about a ceasefire between India and Pakistan after Operation Sindoor by using trade. India has denied both by using trade. And so if India denies it again, then it really ticks him off. Anyway, so let's look at your comments and questions. Here's Anupam Jain. He's a member of Conversations. Anupam, thanks for joining. No, Anupam, this is a very good question. So those who are already here, who already have an H1B visa, it's not going to impact to them. Their life could be affected because their company might say, don't travel, do not travel abroad. So for people who already have an H1B visa, they don't have to travel abroad. I mean, they cannot. You can take the risk, but like for example, there's going to be a memo that will be sent to all the people who are uh, at, at at entry points to the country. Will say, if you see an H1B visa, tell them to show you proof that their company paid $100,000. You can keep arguing, oh, no, 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 I was before that, etc. But it's quite possible that they may not let you enter. So it's a big risk. Uh, but the question is not clear that H1B visa is just a 3-year visa and then you get to renew it. Original idea was that you get an H1B and you immediately apply for a green card, and you would get it before your H1B expired, or you would get it after it gets renewed. Now, in the Indian case, apparently it's taking more than a decade to move from H1B to green card. So you have to be on H1, and if you're 6 years or over, you have to get a fresh one. That's when you will have to pay the $100,000. So if you have in the 5th year, 6th year, you're going to go for a new one, then you will have to pay. Your company will have to pay $100,000. Your employer. To get that done. But for those who already have H1s, it's not going to affect them. It is also possible it may not affect their renewal. The clarity is not here. Some lawyers, immigration lawyers, are saying that no, no, you don't have to pay. It's only the new applications. But that's not true. Because if you're coming in on Monday, on September 22nd, into the US on an H1 visa, which was given to you in August or July, and you were on a 6-month vacation, or that's when let's say your starting date is 1st of October, and you're coming in on 22nd, 23rd of September with a new H1 visa, you will not be allowed into the US unless you can show them proof that your company has paid the $100,000 fee. So it is not prospective, it is retrospective. So that is the issue. So what if you had got your H1B visa 2.5 years ago, and now you are on vacation in India and you're coming back? Then do you have to show that? That is the question which is not very clear. But if you are in the US, you're going to work tomorrow, they're not going to come to your office and ask you, show me if your company has not. So for the safest people are who are in the US at the moment and who have already got their H1B visa stamped, which means that they went abroad and changed their status and have already come back into the US. So they are the safest. So it won't affect maybe 200,000-300,000 Indians, but about 100,000 Indians can potentially experience some challenges. But the sad part, Anupam, is it creates a lot of anxiety and insecurity among the community. It raises the question, are we welcome in America at all? Should we think of migrating back to India? All those kind of things are being raised, etc. Sad, yeah, Sunny Singh. See, this is the thing, right? Trump killed Indian dreams. One of the questions, this is a big question for India, that yes, Indians dream of going to America and becoming an American and living in America. That is slowly coming to it. Forget about this. My immediate concern are my students who are international students, and I don't know what to say to them about this. I don't know what to say to them, because they may finish their PhDs in 3 years or 5 years from now. Because, look, let's say you are from Bangladesh or you are from India, and you want to stay back in the US after you finish your PhD in international relations. So the kind of dissertation you would do is which Americans are interested in, American universities are interested in. So your dissertation topic will be that, which is geared towards the American market. But if there are no H1 visas, then you're finished. You have to go back to your country. And in your country, they may not be interested in the topic. right? So, for example, how is Bangladesh a threat to America? That topic will work in the US. You could actually get a job in some South Asia program, a think tank, or even in the US government. But if you go back with that dissertation to Bangladesh, you think Bangladeshi universities are going to hire somebody who's talking about how Bangladesh is a threat to the US? No, it'll have to be the other way around. How does America endanger the prosperity of Bangladesh? Now that's a different kind of a scenario, isn't it? So yeah, people's futures are in jeopardy. People are living under anxiety. It's like a PTSD. How will it impact people currently? I saw that, Anupam. Well, it's statements like this, Sunny Singh, which are a bit too much. H1B visa made USA great. No, most of the big tech geniuses, except Elon Musk, are all Americans. People who started. Mark Zuckerberg didn't come here on H1B. Facebook is a big thing. Bill Gates did not come here on H1B. And so on and so forth. You can go down all the major tech developments. They were all Americans who did it. So don't exaggerate that. Yes, they are very useful. Thousands of them, 500,000 tech workers who do a very serious job, etc. That's reasonable. Yes, I am a professor at the University of Delaware, and one of the oldest universities in America. University of Delaware started in 1742. I also came from India. I was an engineer. I was not interested in engineering. I did an MBA, and then I worked in India with Larsen and Toubro and Procter and Gamble, and then with an advertising company. Came to India, came to the US, did a PhD in international relations, and I've been a professor of international relations for 25 years in the US. Nit Pandey, good night to you. Helped me out yesterday. Is it so late in India? Not at all. Yes, John, you will have to pay that. You don't have to pay the 100,000. This is a question. I want to apply for H1B visa and already have. Yes, if you're applying for a fresh H1B, then your company will have to pay $100,000, even if you are in the US. This is Jilani Saboon, a very active member. And so somehow in India currently, yes, they are going to be in trouble if they have an H1B visa. And the question is, I don't know if you have had that visa for 4 years, 5 years, would you still have to show that you paid 100,000 or not? But all recent H1Bs, I think those who got their H1Bs in 2025, they probably will have to show that their companies have paid $100,000 for them. Otherwise, they will not be allowed into the country. That is what we are hearing from various immigration lawyers. And that's why they're telling people who are already here on H1, do not travel. Because if you go out and then you come back, we don't know whether you will have to, the company will have to pay $100,000 to get you back. So if you're already here and you're working on H1B, it's not going to impact you yet. Until you go for the renewal, then it becomes an issue. Yes, Anurag Parekh, it is turning out to be very, very bad, and part of it is because of the way your prime minister handles foreign policy. He thinks the whole purpose of foreign policy is to promote himself. Posters, his posters, the G20. Look at the G20 summit. All Narendra Modi's posters all over the place. So you're happy with that? Good. But yes, India's national interests have been hurt. Operation Sindoor created a lot of damage to India. As a result of it, Pakistan has become far more influential in international politics since Operation Sindoor. And on top of that, you're not even allowed to. People like me who ask these questions, our channels are blocked. Yes, 2025 is worse, and it's getting worse because now you also have this issue of vote chori. The world is going to eventually discover that India's elections are not free either. So yeah, it's a bad year. This is not a treaty, Prasad. This is not a treaty. This is an executive order. Donald Trump gave India an exemption in 2018 to use the Chabahar port. It was not a treaty. So India was investing in building the Chabahar port in Iran since 2018. Joe Biden did not stop it, did not block it, did not make any changes to that Trump policy since 2018. But it was not ratified by the Senate. So this order will remain unless Congress passes a law with a different effect. Then it's a different thing. So you'll have to lobby the Congress. Right now, I don't think the Republicans are going to go after Donald Trump's policies like this. The only issue on which the Republicans may go after Donald Trump is number one on the Jeffrey Epstein files issue, and the other is on the freedom of speech issue, on which already Pam Bondi has kind of reversed herself. So you can say that this is not going to happen because Donald Trump will then make sure that many of the Republicans who disagree with him lose in the midterms. So anybody in the U.S. Congress who goes after Donald Trump, if they are a Republican, they will lose their seat. There's no doubt. Donald Trump is very popular even now among the Republicans. Some of his policies are not popular. Okay, the tariff policy, only 40% Republicans approve. But Donald Trump's approval rating is 90% among the Republicans as a whole, and among the MAGA, obviously 100%. Yes, Samir. Yes, Samir, it is Samir's question. Yes, there have been 3 blows against India in the last 24, 48 hours. Like I said, the Chabahar port exemption has been removed by Marco Rubio. Donald Trump's initial executive order had authorized Marco Rubio to decide whether to keep the Chabahar port exemption or not, and he decided against it. So much for the Israeli lobby and sucking up to Israel. The Israeli lobby didn't. I mean, they could just, whatever the Israeli lobby wants, Marco Rubio will do. Okay. If they tell him stand upside down and walk like this for the rest of your life, he will stand upside down and walk like that for the rest of his life. And he did this, which means that the Israeli lobby didn't help India on this issue at all. Keep that also in mind as you go around waving Israeli flags in India. This is funny, Sunny. You made me laugh. I was getting angry. So thank you very much for that joke. This is an interesting question. Re-entry salary, level salary. So the median salary, median yani, the median is a number. So if I say the median age of Americans is 60 years. So what I mean, it's not an average. It is 60 means half of Americans are above 60 and half of them are below 60. So the median salary for the first time applicant or fresh applicant of H1-B is $97,000. So 97 is the number of which half of people who get H1B visas for the first time get a salary more than 97. It's like 90 lakh rupees you're getting. And above that. And half get below 90 lakhs. This is the part that Americans say are exploitative, that IT companies have abused the use of H1B visa because they could hire Americans, but they want to pay less salary. For those who are renewing the H1B visa 3 years later, the median is $120,000. So half of them are making above 120, half are making below 120. So but the fees is the same, $100,000, whether you're applying for the first time or you're applying the second time or getting it renewed going forward. Sunny Singh has made a lot of comments. Sunny Singh, you have to become a member. Hi, Lakshmi Iyer is here. Lakshmi Iyer is also a member of Conversations. Okay, he's talking to somebody else. Okay, we will talk. Even for the green card holders, there are issues because apparently it's taking a long time for green cards to be processed and moving from green card to citizenship. I have a friend who got his green card more than 5 years ago, and he's applying for it. And you apply as soon as 5 years are over, and we will see how things go going forward. I don't know whether de-dollarization is a coffin. De-dollarization is not easy to happen, especially for Indians. If the Indians think that people are going to buy stuff in rupees, it's all just talk. Okay, if de-dollarization happens, it's happened already. Okay, 20% of foreign currency reserves most countries have is euro. So it's about 60% dollar, 20% euro, and then the rest of the currencies in the world are 20%, in which you have the British pound, you have the Canadian dollar, you have the Japanese yen, and the Chinese yuan. All of these currencies, including the United Arab Emirates dirham, they're all more than India's rupee. So de-dollarization may hurt India. It doesn't benefit India at all. So all these pipe dreams, these are all pipe dreams. They're not going to, in the, maybe in 30, 40, 50 years, but not now. Yes, Anupam, that's a very good summary. Since India is exporting people, this is a kind of a tariff on that. And as is the case with tariffs, American companies will be paying this. This is a good, smart point, Anupam. Thank you. Anupama is a very long time supporter of conversations. We had a good meeting in Delhi in January 2024. No, I'm angry because I think people are not understanding the seriousness of these policy implications. Many of these policies will not be reversed even if Donald Trump is not president 3.5 years later. That's the challenge. Lakshmi has a comment. Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, yes, it is going to change the geopolitics in Asia also. For example, it is quite possible that because it is under the umbrella of Arabic Islamic thing, so it is quite possible that Qatar and United Arab Emirates will also join this alliance. And there will be some negative implications of this on India itself, because if India starts becoming more pro-Israel, then see the reason why these countries are making deals with Pakistan is because they now see Israel as the threat, not Iran. So if Israel is a threat, anyone aligning very closely with Israel will be seen as a threat. And India has huge business. India is trying to make UAE is, I think, the third biggest partner of of India in terms of imports and exports, coming close to 100 billion in terms of countries after US and China. So will India be able to compartmentalize, keep the economy and trade going with Saudi Arabia and UAE and Qatar and others? India is committed to buying Qatari oil for another 10, 15 years. It was a $28 billion deal. Remember when 8 Indians in Qatar were arrested for spying for Israel and sentenced to death? And Modi basically negotiated with Qatar and committed to buying. So Modi bought the lives of those 8 Indian Navy people who were spying for Israel for $28 billion. So he signed a deal with Qatar for $28 billion, and then they pardoned them. So yes, India has financial issues and commitments to these countries. So it will become a bit more complicated. Now the question is that there is a spin-off issue. So for example, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan have military relations now. They're going to increase. Pakistanis are going to be stationed in Saudi Arabia. They will get more money from Saudi Arabia. And what are they going to do with that money? They're going to buy more Chinese weapons. And then Pakistan is improving its security relations with Bangladesh. So you will see the ramifications extending into Asia. I'm also convinced that under Anwar Ibrahim, Malaysia might also be tempted to have some kind of a closer relations with Turkey and Saudi Arabia and Pakistan essentially to push back against all this bullshit that the US is doing on behalf of the Israelis. I mean, Trump can say to whatever extent he likes on America first policies, but when it comes to the Middle East, it is all Israel first. In fact, Israel first, Israel last. Uh, Pankaj, a very good point. A lot of people do believe that Pakistan was able to get its nuclear weapons because of Saudi financial support. Yeah, I don't know what Pratt is doing. I'm going to just turn him off. Okay, Rabish says, sir, do you think this move by Portos has effectively ended dream of many Indians to go and work? In a way, you have to increase your skill set, right? So you become so important that you come to America under national security exemption. Like I said, that's a loophole. So I think all Indians who are going to, from now on, you will have to probably prove that you're already an excellent person at IT in India before you will be hired by these companies. So you could like have some success in doing something, not just saying, "Oh, I have a master's in computer science, I can do Java, please hire me." It's not going to work like that. It will be saying, "Oh, I can do AI, and this is what I already created for this company in India." And they'll say, "Wow, can you do that here?" And then they will pay that $100,000 and bring you, or they might be able to bring you through a national security exemption. But I think Donald Trump is also going to make sure that the pathway from H1 to green card becomes difficult and green card to citizen. See, this is all about getting rid of immigrants. I'm sorry to say that. And so if you're not born in the US, even with there's an attempt to denaturalize people. So people who are already citizens of the United States, even they are not safe. In the past 4 or 5 years, America has removed about 10 or 11 people per year who were citizens who were kicked out and their citizenship was canceled. But Donald Trump is trying to increase that. He wants it to increase it 10, 100 times. So they're going to go even after citizens. And that will be a big deal. And these are obviously people who are not born in the US, who are born overseas, who are probably not white, and who do not agree with Donald Trump. Uh, so, so yeah, things are going to get bad, but that doesn't mean that the U.S. need for talented people is still going to disappear. They will continue to bring in people. Universities will try to bring in important professors, etc. But it may not be at the same high volume, like hundreds of thousands of people coming in every year. Literally, we are talking about 85 to 100,000 people in the last few years. It has already reduced apparently since COVID, but the volume of people coming in on these visas will definitely go down. Uh, Another member of conversations, Dr. Khan, should this H1-B change be seen on overall change in the West tighter? Yes, this is part of that because you see the same movements happening in Australia. When I did the India UK bilateral trade agreement, I clearly saw that Starmer was an idiot. He should not have signed that. That was not a good deal for England. It was a very, very good deal for the US, not a good deal for England. The problem with these people in England is these European economies are not growing fast. They're growing at 1%, 0.5%. That's it. None of these economies are hitting 2%. So there's inflation, there is tension in the society, the jobs are not growing. So even though the quality of life is high, England's per capita is $54,000. So it's nearly 20 times richer than US, India. But It's not growing, and if economies don't grow, they don't create new jobs. So a lot of it is being blamed on Brexit. So because England left European Union, the policies are bad. So the Europeans, so the British have been chasing and trying to justify Brexit, saying, okay, since we left Europe, we are able to get a lot of trade agreements. And so finally, England got two, one with the US and one with India. So Starmer is thinking, oh, I've done these great things. Now I have a bilateral trade agreement with India and with the US and the lowest tariff rate of 10% in the world. So that is the best deal that anybody got. And that is on the basis of which he's going to try and win election again. But people like Nigel Farage are going to attack him on the deal that he made with India. And that is where India basically said, give us more visas. Give us more visas, give us more student visas, give us more work visas. The Modi government has not been successful at creating jobs. As simple as that's the hard reality. And they are trying to substitute that by sending people abroad to various countries. And if that stops, we are going to be in deep trouble. Junaid Khan, I'm just taking your comment because my younger brother's name is Junaid. वालेकुम सलाम. जिस तारीख से ट्रम्प इंडिया को टारगेट किया है, हर सकता हमें इंडिया से और खराब. Yeah, it is quite possible that things can get worse because so far India has not retaliated on anything except to say, oh, we denying Donald Trump's claim about ceasefire. Trump has taken blows against India, like I said, many blows, but India has not hit back in any way. Going and bending the knee to Xi Jinping during the SCO summit, that is not a blow against America. It just shows how weak India is. When India was the chairman of SCO, they killed the SCO summit by making it virtual. They destroyed it. Putin and Xi Jinping could have come to India in 2023. That didn't happen. And then in 2024's SCO summit, Modi did not go at all. He was just trying to destroy. In fact, Modi had become America's agent in SCO and BRICS. He was weakening both of them. And now that Trump is like bashing him, he's running to Xi Jinping and saying, now you are my daddy. So everybody saw through that. It didn't work. And the Chinese are not going to just say, oh, all right, that's great. Now you want us? We will be happy to help you. No. Modi and Jaishankar both are lying when they say that India's relations with China has improved since the meeting between Modi and Xi Jinping in Kazan, Russia during the BRICS summit. That was in October 2024. He's wrong. And let me tell you why. And I'll tell you something that nobody in India knows. The Modi doesn't know. Jaishankar doesn't know. All the Godi media don't know that during Operation Sindoor, China was with Pakistan. China gave PL-15s to Pakistan. China gave them real live intelligence. During the Operation Sindoor, China was with Pakistan all the way. Modi doesn't know that. He still thinks the relations with China are getting better. Jaishankar doesn't know that. He keeps saying there are steadily improving relations. How can that be? You are becoming blind to what China did during Operation Sindoor. And why are you doing that? Because you want to improve relations with China and you want China's support and you think you're sending a message to Donald Trump. He didn't give a shit about it. He just came back and said, okay, 25% tariffs on India for selling oil to Russia. And after that, he came with Chabahar, and now he's come with H1-B. I don't know what he's going to come up with if India does not come up with a bilateral trade agreement that Donald Trump likes. All right. So there are no more questions. No super chats? Any members? Yes, I see. Sabun has another question. I'll be happy to. Why not India see Gulf through different lenses? Otherwise, it will be difficult for service providers working in Gulf. Yeah, it's going to be complicated. India, apparently, for whatever reason, wants to be very close friends with Israel. And if it wants to sacrifice its relations with the rest of the Gulf relations, then it's going to become more and more complicated. For example, we'll see how it goes, especially with Saudi Arabia going forward. It's also a challenge for Saudi Arabia, because they sell a lot of oil to India. Hundreds of thousands of people from India go and work in Saudi Arabia. So there is a dependency on India for Saudis too. So we'll see how it manages. I think it may turn out to be a good deal because maybe the Saudis will pressure Pakistan into not messing with India because they don't want to spoil their relations with India. Arun, you are right. It's started already in Australia. Germany is saying it wants to take more Indians. We will see what happens. If they take more Indians, then the right-wing party AFD, Alternative for Deutschland, will do what Nigel Farage does. See, all of these right-wing parties are following the blueprint of Donald Trump. What Donald Trump does in the US, Nigel Farage does in UK, AFD does in Germany, whatever the Reform Le Pen's party in France, they are just mirroring Donald Trump. And so I think there will be a backlash in Germany also, and even Ireland perhaps. This is an interesting question by Umesh. Umesh usually asks a very interesting question. Uh, Dr. Khan, America has a TFR. TFR means fertility rate. Okay, so America 1.62, which means one American woman is producing 1.62 children. In order for the population to remain steady, so for example, America's population is about 340 million people. So for America to remain at 340 million, the TFR should be 2.1. Otherwise, the population will start declining. So when population declines, you have a huge problem, just like Japan's. Japan's economy is shrinking. It went from 6 trillion to 4 trillion, partly because the population is declining. If you have less people, you have less workers, less taxpayers. In a smaller market, less people you can sell things to. So America needs its population to keep growing. So they will have to take immigrants. But I have a feeling that Donald Trump is thinking, once I've got rid of all these brown and black immigrants, maybe J.D. Vance thinks he can bring in European immigrants. And so the population will increase by bringing in Canada and then maybe Europeans from Eastern Europe, white people, maybe Ukrainians, Polish, and other people to America, because it's not an anti-immigrant movement, it's an anti-white movement. So they are not happy with people who look like me. They want people who look like Elon Musk. That's why they said there was a genocide taking place in South Africa and gave them visas. Only 50, 60 people took advantage of that. That tells you how happy South African white people are in South Africa. Yeah, India will have to reform and change. Praveen, yes. Operation Sindoor is proven to be a very expensive project to India. You can't even have an open dialogue about it, unfortunately. It's going to cost India definitely in many ways. You lost Trump after Operation Sindoor. Even during Operation Sindoor, America did not stand with India. Nobody stood with India, by the way. Okay, at least Pakistan had three friends: Azerbaijan, Turkey, and China, with whom India says it had good relations. It didn't. Uh, बलवीर सिंह आप जाके देखें, मैंने बहुत सारे शोज किए हैं इसके ऊपर. I did a lot of shows on this, Balveer, on the defense pack. Just go to my channel and you will see. In fact, I have 4 shows. 3 of them are in Hindi. 1 is in English. That was a live show that I did within a few hours after that treaty was done. So take a look at it. I was on London Top. I was on the BBC. I was on Satya Hindi. I was on many channels in India talking about this. So there is a lot of content out there. Just go to the YouTube channel, and on top on the right there will be a search sign. Just go and type Saudi Pakistan, and it will come up. Damien Leon, AI for Business and Enterprise. Unfortunately, US and India companies colluded to abuse the H1B visa for body shops and replacement instead of finding resources not found. Thereby, it's best India company. I agree with you. There was a lot of exploitation. I meet a lot of, I know thousands of people who are in H1B, but I can tell you they're not geniuses, for God's sake. That many of them are stupid. Not only that, there's another backlight. They are bringing all their cultural and political shit from India right here, anti-Muslim sentiments, racisms, and caste system. In fact, the California legislature actually passed a law against caste discrimination in IT companies in California because they had brought that stuff right here in the US. And then the Newsom took money from Indian lobbyists and vetoed that particular bill. But there is an awareness that Indian migrants are bringing their rubbish. In New Jersey, some Gujaratis tried to attack a mosque with all kinds of rubbish 2 years ago, and there was also uproar about that. So yes, so a lot of these people have come in with as low paying, and on top of that there's a lot of illegal donkey migration from India. According to most estimates, there are 7 lakh Indians in the US now who are illegal migrants. Forget about the legal one. So there's a lot of tension going on. Oh, Tane, how are you? Thank you for your gift. This is also a travel ban for people. Yes, Tane, and this travel ban is not coming from the Trump administration. This will come from the companies themselves. So if a company has hired you and you go on a vacation or getting married or there's a death in the family or you just like to travel, you go abroad and then you're coming back in, and then the Customs and Border Police is going to stop you and say, okay, where is the proof that your company has paid $100,000? If the company has already paid $100,000, then yes, you can travel. But if they have not paid and you're on H1 visa and you still have 2 more years on it, I would not recommend that you should travel. Right now, travel is dangerous for everybody. So yes, very good point, and thank you for your gift. Interesting use of word by Rupesh, decoupling. This was a word that was used for China, decoupling, de-risking, etc. But we'll see what happens. And Sunny saying India depends on defense for Russia and for tech. Yeah, they should stop talking about it. A lot of bullshit about Atmanirbhar Bharat and all of that. Just talk. It's all a lot of talk in India. They need to talk less and work hard more. This is a tough question. This is a question that this is part of having a national vision, what to do. So far, for the last 5-6 years, India is an export-driven economy to some extent. So about of the $4.2 trillion that is India's GDP, more than 1 trillion now comes from trade. So exports and imports. And India is a net importer, which means India's imports are more than its exports. So even though it wants to have an export-driven economy, its economy is also import-driven. So the GDP is affected by the large number of imports. So India's total trade deficit is over $150 billion. 100 of it is to mostly China. So what India needs to do is to basically improve manufacturing at home. India's share of the GDP manufacturing is now less than 15%. Some even put it at less than 13%. So you have to have more factories. You have to have more factory jobs in India. Just relying on services and services which are reliant again on the US. So India's IT industry is about 400 or less than that $1 million, of which 300 billion, sorry, $400 billion, of which 300 is exports of IT services, of which 70% were to the US. So all of that foreign dependence will have to be driven. So what's the point of having 1.5 billion people if you cannot have a domestic demand driven economy? So you have to find ways in which you have to incentivize people to spend money, do domestic tourism, buy domestic stuff, but have the money to buy that. So they'll have to reduce taxes to so that people can spend that more money. So you have to make sure that people have cash and that they spend, and then stop buying foreign stuff, especially useless stuff. There are many things that you buy just because they're brand names. Look at the the lines outside for i17, the iPhone 17. I was stunned by that. Nowhere in the world, I didn't see anything like that here in the US. I'm getting phone calls. I have iPhone 16 and they're telling me upgrade it. So I said, well, show me what's the difference. So I think there has to be a fundamental shift. Plus, the current government is distracted with all the culture and Hindu Muslim targeting citizens, calling them Bangladeshis, destroying homes of thousands of people. In April alone, and near Ahmedabad, 8,000 people's houses were bulldozed. So if you're going to destroy your own people, how is the country going to rely? There are a lot of other issues, the issues of credibility of the Supreme Court, credibility of the judiciary, credibility of the tax system, legal system. There are a lot of question marks that are being raised in the last 2 years about various Indian institutions. And if they don't fix up, you're going to be in deep trouble. So they need to really have a long conversation at home on this issue. Yeah, I will try to do that, Sabun. In fact, I have a very good colleague, Professor Salim Ali, here at the University of Delaware. He is one of the world's most prominent experts on minerals as well as on environmental issues, and he travels a lot also. So I have to sit down with him and talk about the environmental challenges to South Asia. But the problem is then people don't watch it. Look, I did a very good show with a very prominent expert yesterday on First Amendment, freedom of speech, on hate speech. And see, very few people watched from India or from the US here. So then it's not an incentive for me to put a lot of hard work if nobody's going to watch on these issues, right? I did that because I wanted my students also to watch. So yes, I got a few hundred views, mostly from my undergrad students from this semester and previous years. Yes. What are the best things what are the best performers in that war in Operation Sindoor? S-400, Sai Sumesh. Where did you get that from? From your friends. You didn't make them at home. So yes, that is it. And which were the jet fighters we talk about is Sukhoi and Rafales. If you didn't have friends who are willing to sell you these weapons, you would not have that. And as a result of that, there's also an issue of credibility. Like you could be accused in the United Nations of attacking a sovereign nation without providing any proof of its involvement in Pahalgam. Because you have friends in the Security Council and other places, the international community is not turning against you. So yes, India does need friends to fight anybody. Just as Pakistan needs friends, and China has been supporting it in its diplomacy. After that, China protected Pakistan at the FATF, at the UN Security Council, etc. And now Pakistan is on good friends relations with the US. So Pakistan did not become a pariah state after Pahalgam, in spite of all of India's diplomatic efforts. In fact, you will see in September, I think Shahbaz Sharif is also going to go to Japan. And now Pakistan is so important in the Middle East all of a sudden. Good. Thank you very much, Sabun. So anyway, so thank you all of you for watching, and thank you, Tane, and everybody else, and all the members who came. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this video with your socio-political network. If there is more clarity, then I might do this H1-B thing in Hindi tonight, which will be morning time in India, probably around 9:30 a.m. India time. So take care. Thank you for watching. Bye.